What if I told you there's a single farm so massive it's larger than the entire country of Belgium, producing enough food to feed 50 million people every single day? While you're impressed by your neighbor's half-acre vegetable garden, there are agricultural operations spanning millions of acres that literally reshape entire continents and control the world's food supply for facilities you can see from the International Space Station. These aren't just big farms or corporate operations. They're agricultural empires that employ more people than most countries' entire military forces. Using technology so advanced they're farming with artificial intelligence and satellite control machinery that works 24 hours a day across land masses bigger than most U.S. states. What I'm about to show you will completely shatter everything you think you know about farming and make you realize that even America's largest agricultural operations are tiny backyard gardens compared to these absolute giants. Farm number 1, Mongolia's nomadic empire. At the top of our list sits an agricultural operation so unique it challenges everything the modern world believes about farming. Across Mongolia's vast steppes, the world's most extraordinary agricultural system maintains traditions thousands of years old while operating on a scale that dwarfs every other farming operation on Earth. This isn't just big. We're talking about over 40 million acres of grassland managed by nomadic herders who move millions of livestock across territories larger than most countries. That's an area bigger than the entire state of Florida, yet it's managed without a single permanent building, fence, or piece of stationary equipment. Instead, 300,000 herding families coordinate the movement of massive herds across landscapes, according to seasonal patterns perfected over millennia. What makes Mongolia's nomadic empire truly extraordinary is how they've scaled ancient pastoral methods to industrial levels while maintaining complete sustainability. These aren't small family operations struggling to survive. We're talking about coordinated movements of millions of cattle, sheep, goats, and horses across territories that require logistics more complex than most military campaigns. The herders use satellite phones and GPS systems to coordinate movements, but the fundamental system remains unchanged from Genghis Khan's time. The numbers are staggering. This system supports over 300,000 families while managing 70 million head of livestock across grasslands that remain completely pristine. The animals are healthier than any confined operation. The grassland actually improves under their management, and the entire system is carbon negative, actively removing CO2 from the atmosphere. They produce some of the world's finest cashmere, wool, meat, and dairy products for international markets, generating billions in revenue while maintaining the world's last great wilderness. The scale of coordination required is mind-blowing. Herders communicate across hundreds of miles using traditional signals and modern technology, moving massive herds along routes that prevent overgrazing while maximizing nutrition. During harsh winters, known as Dzud, the entire system mobilizes like a military operation, with stronger communities supporting weaker ones across distances that would challenge modern supply chains. While the world debates sustainable agriculture and climate change, Mongolia's nomadic empire proves that the solution isn't new technology, but ancient wisdom applied at massive scale. This operation covers more territory than any other farm on Earth, produces premium products for global markets, supports hundreds of thousands of families, and actually improves the environment it operates in. It's not just the biggest farm in the world by area. It's proof that the oldest farming methods can also be the most advanced when properly organized and scaled. Farm number 2, Saudi Arabia's Desert Miracle. In the heart of the Arabian Desert, where daytime temperatures regularly exceed 115 degrees Fahrenheit and natural rainfall is virtually non-existent, sits an agricultural operation that seems to defy the fundamental laws of nature itself. This isn't just farming in a challenging environment. This is creating life in conditions more hostile than the surface of Mars. Saudi operations like Al-Marai span over 400,000 acres of pure desert, maintaining over 170,000 dairy cows in climate-controlled facilities while growing crops using millions of gallons of desalinated seawater pumped from the Persian Gulf. We're talking about an area larger than the entire state of Rhode Island, transformed from barren wasteland into one of the world's most productive agricultural regions through sheer engineering brilliance and unlimited financial resources. What makes Saudi Arabia's desert agriculture truly mind-shattering is how they've created perfect growing conditions through pure technological dominance. These operations pump over 50 million gallons of desalinated water daily through irrigation systems that create lush green circles visible from the International Space Station, surrounded by thousands of miles of barren sand dunes. The contrast is so stark that astronauts regularly photograph these agricultural oases as examples of humanity's ability to transform impossible landscapes. The scale of infrastructure required is absolutely staggering. These facilities consume more electricity than entire cities, running massive cooling systems that maintain 65 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures inside cow barns while it's 120 degrees Fahrenheit outside. The desalination plants alone require the energy output of small power stations, processing seawater around the clock to irrigate crops that shouldn't exist within 1,000 miles of this location. Automated milking systems handle thousands of cows per hour, while computer-controlled feeding systems deliver precisely calculated nutrition to each animal based on real-time health monitoring. The economic investment is mind-blowing. Saudi Arabia spends over $2 billion annually maintaining these desert farms, essentially creating artificial ecosystems that produce fresh milk, vegetables, and grains for the entire Middle East. They've built roads, power plants, housing complexes, and processing facilities in the middle of nowhere, creating modern cities dedicated entirely to food production in Earth's most challenging environment. These operations prove that with unlimited resources and advanced technology, geography becomes irrelevant. While most farmers pray for rain, these Saudi giants create their own weather, manufacture their own soil, and maintain perfect growing conditions regardless of what nature throws at them. Farm number 3, Argentina's Cattle Kingdom. On Argentina's endless pampas, where grasslands stretch beyond the horizon in every direction, cattle operations exist that have literally redefined what the world considers premium beef. This isn't just ranching on a large scale. This is beef production transformed into an industrial empire that controls every aspect of the global meat market. Argentine cattle giants like Adecoagro and El Tijar manage over 3 million acres of grassland that seems designed by nature specifically for livestock production. We're talking about an area larger than the entire state of Connecticut, covered in grass, so perfect for cattle that it eliminates the need for supplemental feeding. These operations run herds numbering in the hundreds of thousands across landscapes, so ideally suited for grazing that even the most experienced ranchers from other countries are left speechless by the natural perfection. What makes Argentina's cattle kingdom truly exceptional is how they perfected grass-fed beef production on an industrial scale while maintaining quality standards that boutique operations struggle to match. These aren't just massive ranches throwing quantity over quality. Every single animal grazes on nutrient-rich grasses that create marbling and flavor profiles so consistently superior that Argentine beef commands premium prices in the world's most expensive restaurants from Tokyo to New York. The integration is absolutely complete. These operations control breeding programs that have taken decades to perfect, developing cattle genetics optimized specifically for Argentine grasslands. They maintain their own veterinary facilities, feed laboratories, and genetic research centers that rival university programs. When it comes time for processing, they own the slaughterhouses, the packaging facilities, and the distribution networks that deliver their products to international markets. The economic impact is staggering. These cattle empires export over $3 billion worth of beef annually, while employing entire regions of the country. Towns exist solely to support these operations, with schools, hospitals, and housing developments built around cattle stations that function like agricultural cities. The quality control is so precise that individual animals can be tracked from birth to plate, ensuring that every steak bearing the Argentine label meets standards that have made the country synonymous with the world's finest beef. These Argentine giants demonstrate how traditional ranching methods can scale to meet global demand while actually improving quality rather than sacrificing it for volume. Farm number 4, Ukraine's breadbasket. Across Ukraine's legendary black soil region, agricultural operations exist that don't just feed a nation, but literally sustain an entire continent's food security. This isn't just large-scale farming. This is agricultural infrastructure so vital to global stability that disruptions here send shockwaves through food markets on every inhabited continent. Ukrainian agri-holdings like Kernel, MHP, and UKR land farming control over 2.8 million acres of what soil scientists consider the most naturally fertile farmland on Earth. We're talking about black earth so rich with organic matter, it looks like chocolate cake, spread across an area larger than the state of Delaware. This soil, called Chernozem, is so perfect for agriculture that it can produce massive yields with minimal fertilization, making it the agricultural equivalent of striking oil. What makes Ukraine's agricultural empire truly vital is how they've maximized the incredible potential of soil that took thousands of years to develop. These operations don't just grow crops. They operate as the primary food security backbone for hundreds of millions of Europeans, producing over 75 million tons of grain annually, while maintaining Europe's largest poultry operations with individual facilities housing over 10 million chickens and integrated systems that control everything from breeding to processing. The strategic importance is absolutely enormous. These Ukrainian giants provide wheat, corn, and sunflower oil that feeds populations from Morocco to Bangladesh, while their poultry operations supply protein to markets across 3 continents. When global events disrupted these operations, food prices spiked worldwide, demonstrating just how dependent the global food system has become on these massive Ukrainian farms. The scale of production is mind-blowing. During peak harvest season, combines work around the clock across landscapes that stretch beyond the horizon, filling grain storage facilities that can hold entire national harvests. The logistics require coordination between thousands of workers, hundreds of pieces of heavy machinery, and transportation networks that move millions of tons of grain to ports on the Black Sea for global distribution. The integration extends far beyond simple crop production. These operations maintain their own seed research facilities, fertilizer plants, and transportation fleets. They've built entire cities around their processing facilities, creating agricultural ecosystems that employ hundreds of thousands of people while feeding over 1 billion consumers worldwide. Recent global events have highlighted how these massive Ukrainian operations aren't just businesses, but critical infrastructure for international food security and political stability. Farm number 5, Russia's grain fortress. In Russia's vast steppes and taiga regions, where winter temperatures plummet to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit and growing seasons last just 4 brutal months, agricultural operations thrive in conditions that would utterly destroy crops anywhere else on Earth. This isn't just cold weather farming. This is agricultural warfare against nature itself, waged across territories so enormous they span multiple time zones. Russian agricultural giants like Rusagro, Miratorg, and Cherkizovo span millions of acres across regions where the ground remains frozen solid for 8 months of every year. We're talking about an area larger than the entire state of Texas, where farmers must accomplish in 120 days what takes other operations an entire year to complete. The logistical challenges alone would overwhelm most countries' entire agricultural sectors. Yet these Russian titans consistently produce enough grain to supply major European markets. What makes Russia's grain operations truly remarkable is their absolute mastery of extreme cold climate agriculture on an industrial scale that defies comprehension. These operations deploy specialized equipment designed to function in temperatures that would freeze hydraulic fluid solid, using tractors and combines that cost more than most American farms' entire annual revenue. The machinery includes heated cabs, specialized lubricants, and engines that must be kept running continuously during harvest season to prevent catastrophic freezing. The scale of infrastructure required is absolutely staggering. These operations maintain massive heated storage facilities that can preserve entire harvests through winters that last longer than most countries' entire growing seasons. They employ over 50,000 people across facilities that include their own power plants, maintenance shops, and housing complexes built to withstand conditions that regularly destroy conventional buildings. Workers live in company towns that must be completely self-sufficient during months when transportation becomes impossible. The technological innovation is mind-blowing. Russian engineers have developed crop varieties that can complete their entire life cycle in impossibly short growing seasons while producing yields that rival crops grown in perfect conditions. The timing precision required means that planting and harvest operations run 24 hours a day during the brief windows when field work is possible, with coordinated fleets of machinery working under floodlights when necessary. These Russian giants prove that with enough determination, technology, and resources, profitable agriculture is possible even in conditions that seem designed to make farming impossible, setting the stage for even more incredible environmental challenges ahead. Farm number 6, Brazil's soybean empire. Across Brazil's Cerrado savanna, where vast grasslands once stretched unbroken to distant mountain ranges, soybean operations now exist that have literally transformed an entire ecosystem into the world's most productive agricultural region. This isn't just large-scale crop production. This is environmental engineering on a continental scale that has reshaped landscapes visible from satellites orbiting hundreds of miles above Earth. Brazilian megafarms like Grupo Andre Maggi, SLC Agricola, and Amagi control over 2 million acres each across regions that were considered completely unsuitable for agriculture just 40 years ago. We're talking about an area larger than the state of Rhode Island that has been converted from natural savanna into perfectly geometric fields that produce soybeans for livestock feed across 3 continents. The transformation is so complete that astronauts regularly photograph these operations as examples of humanity's ability to completely remake natural landscapes. What makes Brazil's soybean empire truly staggering is how they've converted what was once considered worthless scrubland into the most efficient protein production system on the planet. These operations don't just grow soybeans. They've created an integrated agricultural ecosystem that feeds the world's appetite for meat by producing over 15 million tons of soybeans annually using GPS-guided machinery that plants, tends, and harvests crops across distances so vast that combined harvesters work in coordinated fleets like military formations. The speed of expansion is absolutely mind-blowing. What took North American agriculture centuries to develop, these Brazilian operations accomplished in a single generation. They've built entire cities around their processing facilities, complete with airports, housing developments, and educational institutions. Workers live in company towns that didn't exist on maps 20 years ago, but now house tens of thousands of people dedicated entirely to soybean production. The technological integration is incredible. Satellite monitoring systems track soil moisture, weather patterns, and crop health across millions of acres in real time, while automated equipment operates around the clock during planting and harvest seasons. The logistics require coordination between thousands of workers, hundreds of pieces of heavy machinery, and transportation networks that move millions of tons of soybeans to ports for global distribution. The environmental impact is enormous and controversial. These operations have converted an area larger than California from natural habitat to farmland, creating both incredible productivity and significant ecological concerns about the speed and scale of landscape transformation in one of Earth's most biodiverse regions. Farm number 7, China's Dairy Revolution. In China's northern provinces, where ancient Silk Roads once carried goods between civilizations, dairy operations now exist that have completely redefined what's possible in modern agriculture. This isn't just industrial farming. This is food production transformed into a technological symphony where artificial intelligence, robotics, and satellite monitoring converge to create the most advanced agricultural systems ever conceived by human minds. Chinese megafarms like the Mudanjiang Mega Farm and modern farming operations house over 100,000 dairy cows each in climate-controlled facilities that span hundreds of thousands of acres across landscapes that were considered unsuitable for large-scale dairy production just 2 decades ago. We're talking about individual operations larger than many American counties, where every aspect of milk production is controlled by computers that make thousands of decisions per second to optimize everything from individual cow nutrition to facility temperature control. What makes China's dairy revolution truly mind-blowing is how they've industrialized every single aspect of milk production using technology that seems borrowed from science fiction. These aren't just big dairy farms with lots of cows. These are fully automated agricultural cities where artificial intelligence monitors the health of individual animals in real time. Robotic milking systems handle thousands of cows per hour without human intervention, and precision agriculture techniques maximize feed crop yields across millions of acres using satellite guidance systems that adjust planting patterns based on soil analysis conducted from space. The scale of integration is absolutely staggering. These operations produce over 500,000 gallons of fresh milk daily, while simultaneously growing their own feed crops, operating their own processing facilities, and maintaining their own transportation networks. They employ entire cities' worth of people in facilities that include housing developments, schools, medical centers, and research laboratories, essentially creating self-contained agricultural ecosystems that function like small countries dedicated entirely to dairy production. The technological sophistication is incredible. Computer-controlled feeding systems deliver precisely calculated nutrition to each cow based on individual health data collected by sensors that monitor everything from heart rate to milk production. Climate control systems maintain perfect conditions across facilities large enough to house commercial aircraft, while automated waste management systems convert millions of tons of manure into biogas that powers the entire operation. These Chinese giants represent the future of agriculture, where traditional farming becomes advanced manufacturing, treating food production with the same precision and efficiency that characterizes the world's most sophisticated industrial operations. Farm number 8, Australia's cattle kingdoms. Let's begin our countdown with operations that make every other ranch on Earth look like a backyard petting zoo. Deep in the Australian outback, where red dirt stretches endlessly toward horizons that shimmer with heat mirages, cattle stations exist that operate on a scale so massive they challenge basic assumptions about what livestock management can achieve. Anna Creek Station and Clifton Hill Station combine control over 10 million acres of the most unforgiving agricultural landscape imaginable. We're talking about an area larger than Switzerland, where daytime temperatures regularly exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit, annual rainfall barely reaches 6 inches, and the nearest neighbor might be a 3-hour helicopter flight away. These operations manage over 150,000 head of cattle across terrain so harsh that most animals would perish within days of exposure. What makes Australia's cattle kingdoms truly extraordinary is how they've mastered livestock management across impossible distances using logistics that resemble space missions more than traditional ranching. Cowboys here don't ride horses through green pastures. They pilot helicopters that consume thousands of gallons of aviation fuel monthly, using GPS tracking systems and satellite communications to locate herds scattered across territories that span multiple climate zones. Workers live in isolation so complete they can go months without seeing anyone outside their immediate crew. The infrastructure requirements are absolutely mind-boggling. These stations maintain their own airports, radio networks, medical facilities, and mechanical workshops capable of servicing heavy machinery hundreds of miles from the nearest town. Water must be trucked in from sources that might be a day's drive away, or pumped from underground reserves using solar installations that cover acres of desert. Every piece of equipment must be designed to function in conditions that regularly destroy conventional machinery. The coordination required during mustering seasons is incredible. Helicopter pilots, motorcycle riders, and ground crews execute synchronized operations across distances so vast that radio communications require relay stations positioned on distant hilltops. The cattle themselves are hardy breeds specifically developed to survive in conditions that would kill European or American livestock, representing decades of selective breeding for extreme environment adaptation. These Australian giants prove that with enough determination and specialized technology, profitable agriculture is possible even in landscapes that seem designed to prevent any form of organized food production. These 8 agricultural giants prove that modern farming operates on scales that would have been literally impossible to imagine just decades ago. From Australian cowboys piloting helicopters across territories larger than entire countries, to Mongolian nomads coordinating millions of livestock across pristine wilderness, these operations represent the incredible diversity and ingenuity required to feed our growing world. While your local farmer's market is important and valuable, these agricultural titans remind us that feeding 8 billion people requires thinking on scales that completely shatter everything we thought we knew about what's possible in food production. If you're fascinated by the hidden giants that actually control the world's food supply and want to discover more shocking truths about how our planet really works, make sure to subscribe for more mind-blowing revelations about the systems that keep civilization running. And don't miss the next video on your screen, where I reveal the most incredible farming technologies that are literally reshaping our planet's surface and changing what it means to grow food in the 21st century.